Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra.
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people
Associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked,
and sometimes what didn't,
you will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts
And inspire you to do even greater things.
Hey, listeners of the Software People Stories podcast. We're so excited to share with you that our 100th episode is just around the corner. We invite you to join us as we hit the century mark and celebrate. We invite your comments as listeners of our podcast to either write into us or leave us an audio recording. As always, our email is podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com. This is a story that struck me in terms of its honesty and simplicity. From where she was brought up in the maximum city of Mumbai to transitioning from technology to a management role, Nitya Krishnamoorthy, General Manager at Gale Partners, tells her tale of persistence, courage, and tenacity in the midst of self-doubt, being told otherwise, and her own personal challenges. She shares her experiences of building teams, scaling them, making them extensible, all done as an individual contributor role. She brings her experience stories on managing creative teams across the world and some key insights from the remote working scenario that's perhaps changed her view of people and work forever. She also leaves listeners with a simple yet effective message, especially for freshers waiting to join the workforce. This episode was recorded with Nitya in her balcony as the rest of her family was online in separate rooms of her home. So you would hear the chirping of birds and a few other sounds while you listen. Welcome, Nitya. It's very nice to have you on the Software People Stories. I've been looking forward to our conversation for quite some time now. A very warm welcome to you.
Thanks, Chitra. It's been great. Thanks for getting me to come in here. It feels nice.
So we usually ask our guests to introduce themselves to our listeners. How would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, so I have been I'm a Mumbaiite. That's the first thing I would like to talk about myself. Being a Mumbaiite, I'm born and brought up in Mumbai. I came in here to Bangalore 16 years back. It's been nice in Bangalore, though I miss my Mumbai a lot. I've been a typical Mumbai girl. Have had, I did my engineering in Mumbai in electronics, and then I moved on to a corporate job in software. I was a technologist I have completed like 19 years in the IT industry, and I've spent close to 9 years as a technologist. So I have worked across various domains. I've led projects across technology, experience design, operations, business operations, and currently I head operations for a business agency, which is actually a digital marketing and advertising agency in Bangalore. And so that's about me. I'm more of a fun-loving person, somebody who likes to have a lot of friends, who likes to talk a lot. And I think I'm just living life in a fun way.
That's nice, Nitya. I think the introduction was really interesting. I can already think of several questions that will pepper this conversation. What got you interested in taking up, let's say, electronics engineering? Were you always aspiring to be an engineer? What motivated you to go down this path?
Okay, so this is 20 years back, right? And that was the time when typically there used to be just two streams. Either you do medical or you do engineering. Those were the days where being an engineer or having a educational qualification of a BE did really matter. And people used to look up for it or look out for it. So that was a time when these were the two streams. And I was very clear from the beginning that I was very far away from biology. So the obvious choice for me was to get into engineering. In terms of my background, my family, my parents have been very progressive. So I have a elder sister, and they wanted both their daughters to study well and be independent. And it was very clear that we would study, we would go for a we would work, we would earn our money, we would be independent. So given that, I think it was kind of a natural choice to pick up a professional course like an engineering. Why electronics engineering? I think that was the time when computers was like it was that era, and it was quite natural for me. I was actually very keen on doing chemical engineering, but it was that period where there were still concerns around, would chemical engineering work for a girl? Would she actually get a job? Things have changed 20 years down the line. I think if now I would have been given an opportunity, I would have just gone for it. But I just flew through, the way it came. And electronics, obviously I wanted computers, but I couldn't get through. So electronics was like kind of a natural choice, which eventually would have led me into the world of computers. So I think that's the reason why I got into it.
That's an interesting story. You said that you were a technologist for 9 years, and looking at the kind of work you have done, that's a lot of experience and different kinds of experience.
Right.
What would you say are some of the best moments or the most challenging moments from the experience of being a technologist?
So I think in terms of the best moments, right, the company that I worked for at that, so I did spend a lot of time in a particular company for a very long time. I spent nearly like 10, 11 years in one company. Those were the times when we would not like to move across companies. We would just stick on to one company and would like to consider that as the one where you would like to retire from, right? That was the time. The company that I worked for, it was actually evolving. We could see that it was going to be growing to a significant strength, and the kind of work they were doing at that point in time was very niche. So being there at the right time and actually working on technology was quite interesting there. There were lots of moments where I could actually learn things from scratch, which I don't know if I would have been trained on. Like those were things, we could learn on the job. So I think that was the fun part of it. The team, the people, I think I loved being there, doing the kind of work, working with clients. So that kind of was really motivating and like kept me going. But in terms of moments that were challenging, I did realize like 5, 6 years down the line that, as it evolves, I also need to evolve along with it, which means I need to start giving in a lot of time towards my professional development. Around the same time, from a personal standpoint, also, I was growing into different roles. And I think that was where I had a challenge, where I was not able to meet up to the expectations of my professional development to, balancing out my personal life. So that was quite stressful. And I do feel that, when you are on technology, you have to constantly be evolving, you have to constantly learn. And that kind of, I think there was a phase where I think I slowed down a bit. And that was a bit challenging for me.
Thanks, Nitya. Very nice. In fact, when you talked about evolution and slowing down, and for whatever reason that may be, a lot of us go through this personal professional seesaw or roller coaster, as some people may choose to call it. How did you make that transition, and what was that experience like? I'm sure a lot of our listeners would have faced similar situations, and this is something that would be nice to listen to from someone who's gone through it. And how did you come out over on the other side?
Yeah, this is something I actually talk about even in my organization with, the other colleagues I have. And this is something I'm really proud of and very happy about where I am right now. And the transformation probably started around the time when I moved out of technology. There was a time when I was actually making a decision to move out of technology. There were a lot of people who were unhappy about it. At home, at my office, actually, my mentors were really unhappy. They were like, you're making a wrong decision. You're trying to slow down your career. And I was like, no, I don't think I'm trying to slow down. I'm just trying something different. And I'm hoping that it'll work for me. So when I made a shift from technology to project management, it was not easy. I had to literally start from scratch because it was something I had never done. And I had to forego off so from a career standpoint, I think I went like -2 years, even from a title, even from a promotion readiness perspective. I really had to slog it out to reach to where I should be. It was a good transition, but it was quite tough. It was quite challenging. Thanks to all the mentors I had, I did have great support. I could learn on the job. It was quite stressful, but I think overall, when I look at it right now, I feel that really paid. The reason why I am right now is because of that transition that I made. During the course of the time where I was going through all the challenges of getting into something new, learning something new on the job, and also delivering to the expectations I was supposed to deliver, I think I started realizing that that's where my passion lies. And I started realizing that that is something I'm very good at. And I could actually grow myself into somebody who could lead teams, who could actually lead diverse teams. And that kind of worked for me. How it paved my way through was, even when it gave me the right balance of flexibility, and at the same time, it actually gave me a sense of achievement because I knew I was leading teams 30 plus, 40 plus. I knew I was delivering like 2 or 3 projects at a time. And I could do all of that along with balancing my personal front. So that was the first win, I think, for me, which kind of motivated me to go further. The other core thing which I've realized is that through the course of the last 10, 11 years, I have evolved in my role from being a project manager to being a delivery lead to even delivering across different teams, understanding new processes. It's kind of helped me learn the industry in a better way. I feel that I'm able to adapt to different teams, to different people, to different working styles. And I think that's been positive for me because even now, after like 20 years or after 19 years, I think I can try out something new. And I feel confident that I may find it difficult, but it's not something that I can't achieve. I may have to work hard, but I will still be able to achieve. So over the 11 years, I have played a variety of roles. I have tried out new things. I have tried to evolve myself in my role. And I think that has helped me be where I am right now. And so I absolutely don't regret the fact that I have moved out of technology. I think if I would have stuck into technology, I might not have done well. But where I am right now, I think I'm confident that, I have been able to achieve what I wanted. So that's kind of been very positive for me.
So that's a really inspiring story on your personal transformation and transitions, if I may. I'm sure a lot of our listeners would have a lot to take away from listening to your experience, Nitya. Thank you so much. You moved from a role in technology to a role in management, and from managing large teams, and you said with a lot of diversity in the teams, to even working across teams. What was that transition like? And what were some of your defining moments during, this transition from, let's say, an individual contributor to a manager and managing across teams?
I actually started off when I became a project manager, when I moved into project management, I actually started off big bang, managing a huge team. But then eventually after a few years, I got into an individual contributor role. And then after a few years, I actually moved into a role where I was managing diverse teams across locations. When I started off managing a team, a sizable team of 30 to 40 people, I think I was learning at that point of time. I was learning myself to manage my work and at the same time manage the team's work. So the first transformation when you are moving towards the role of a lead, the critical part there is you got to manage your work, but at the same time you're also managing somebody else's work and you're also responsible for it. So that's where your accountability starts building, and that's quite stressful. Once you are able to do that, the next step is easier, where you are good at your work, so you can take care of it. You just have to, once you have got your team comfortable, once you've got them to understand what they need to do and they feel confident about it, they get to start working in a routine. And then that's where you feel comfortable and your stress comes down. Though the accountability is still there, it's like it's easy to manage. That was the first phase. The second phase was where I was actually an independent contributor. Independent contributor, it was an exciting role. I over a period of like 2 to 3 years, I, along with like 2 or 3 people in my team, we were overall responsible for building capability across a certain area of excellence. And we actually sized up the team to like nearly 1,000 plus people. It was very exciting because here I actually got to understand the nuances of how do you actually build a team? How do you scale up? How do you make it extensible? What are the things that you need to look into? Like things around, how do you manage their ongoing development? It's not just about setting up a team, but it's about how are you constantly going to scale it? How are you constantly going to manage them professionally? How are you going to ensure that they are being assessed and evaluated? So all those aspects came into picture. And though I was an individual contributor, I had the exposure to do all of that. And that gave me a lot of learning around building a team, scaling up a team. The next role where I played that of, where I was managing diverse teams, that was the first time I was actually managing creative teams, not just across India, but, outside of India. And that's when I realized that what's important is for you to also understand that different people need to be managed in a very different way. Creative teams are typically very emotional. Their style of working is different as against, technologists. And that's where I learned the nuances of how to manage different people who come with different backgrounds. And, how can you actually get the work done? Ensuring you manage the emotions, ensuring you manage the expectations of different people. So that kind of helped me in growing in that perspective about understanding people in a better way, so that, you need to have a different leadership style, managing different people. So that's what I think I learned during that phase of my career. So overall, I think each of them have given me a good learning. And I can see when I'm right now, heading ops, I can actually see how all of that is helping me in this situation, in managing a company right now. So I think, yeah, it's been a great learning for me across these, diverse roles.
Nice, Nitya. So many lessons across the board. This is really a lot of, added a lot of enriching moments in this conversation itself. And you're saying right now that, you are actually managing operations and a whole gamut of different things for the entire business. If you were to look at things going forward from now, especially in the
Mhm.
environment where people are working remotely, what are some of
Yeah.
these things that you've picked up, let's say, in the last few months? What has been different in these last few months that's come to your attention or that you have sensed? Could you share some of what's going on with you and your work and present environment?
Yeah, so the last 6 months, right, since the lockdown started, has been, what should I say? I can call it challenging, but has been very different. I think one of the key things has been for all of us, including a lot of my colleagues, and I can see that on a day-on-day basis, is how we have all adapted to this. We've managed to adapt to this situation in our own way. We've figured out. I think when in March, when this whole thing started, I know the first 2 months were really stressful, where I had to manage work, I had to manage household work, I had to manage my child who was actually having his vacation. We could not step out. There were a lot of things at a personal front that we were handling. But I did realize that, we kind of adapted to it, and we came out of it. And I think what the last 6 months have taught me is that it's okay for some things to not happen the way they need to happen. It's okay if you're not able to, do certain things which you were doing before. It's okay if you're not following a routine. You probably need to evolve or change your routine on a timely basis so that you are able to do things. And that's one of the things I've learned. Like, basically from starting in terms of, even how you manage a house, how you cook, what you expect from your children, all of that. I think we need to constantly evolve. And I think that's the world that we are living in right now. The way things were in March, they are not the same way right now. There are certain things that we have started doing, which we were not doing in the initial months of the lockdown. In terms of work, I think the learning that I have come across is that, people can adapt and can do the unexpected. There are a lot of my colleagues who I would have never expected them to be playing or doing certain roles, which they have automatically taken up during this period of lockdown. So I think when we, our perspectives about people, when we talk to them, when we start working with them, what has come into my mind is that those are only perspectives in the current situation. When a situation changes, you can never judge, or you should not be judgmental around will they be able to do or not. You will be surprised about what you can expect from people. And I think I'm going to always be looking forward to seeing that from people when I'm going to interact with them. I think I'm going to be less judgmental about what somebody can do or not do. And I think that's been a great learning for me. So yeah, with challenges, I think I'm happy that, where we are right now, we've kind of come out of it. We are trying to manage things ourselves. Everybody's had a work routine set up. Our organization was not a work from home organization. But the day the lockdown happened, it was like a switch. We got into that mode. We've been extremely productive, or we rather more productive. So I think it's all for the good. It's all about adapting yourself to the change, giving an opportunity to people to try and do something and not judging them, because as situations change, they could do wonders. So that's the learning that I've had, and that's what I think has helped me through the whole 6-7 months of the lockdown.
Certainly, I can also see a lot of situations that have happened, and I think unusual circumstances uh, call for some kind of unusual evolution as well. And it
Yeah.
looks like, a lot of takeaways for everybody. And like you said, not to be judgmental about people and just allow the situation and people to evolve. and then probably it's the best for everyone. That's a very positive way of looking at it. And, I hope whatever the situation is, and I'm so sure that we'll come out of it, will turn out to be defining moments for everyone in whatever little ways it may be. So, uh, you mentioned a lot of times, you said you're a fun person, and
Mhm.
as part of your downtime, whenever you can find it amidst so many things that you're doing, what is it that you enjoy doing the most?
I'm not a great cook, but I always used to love watching cooking shows and trying out different things, like not the regular stuff that you eat at home, right? Like not the regular food. But I used to always love, watching these cookery shows that try out new ways of cooking, baking, trying out new things at home with the basic things that you have at home. So I love doing that. So during the lockdown also, I think, and something that is that de-stresses me is trying to bake something. It could be as simple as making like a small vanilla cake or like a chocolate muffin or something like that, but I keep doing that. I love to do that. I also have my son joining me now. It's our mom son time, so we do that quite a lot. It kind of de-stresses me. I do like to paint, not regularly though, but I do like to paint mandalas. So I do that when I'm down and I just don't want to do anything else and just want to be out of doing something just simple, not use your brain. So I do that. I also have a new passion in gardening now, which I have picked up in the last few months. So I have kind of picked up, I'm doing my balcony gardening. I am trying to grow veggies. So I'm actually going through a lot of content on the internet, learning new ways, learning composting. So all that has actually helped me to kind of de-stress myself. And, it's very exciting and fun. It's fulfilling. It's very satisfying when you actually see something. You might have just grown a small veggie, but it feels really refreshing to see that happen.
And that's why we were meant to have this conversation outdoors. It's so nice to just hear you saying all these things. A lot of our listeners are aspiring engineers or looking to join the workforce at some point in time. What would be a few messages that you would like to leave people who are looking to join the workforce right now, or even freshers, or people who are just about to graduate from college?
So for the people who are just about to join, like the freshers, one thing I would like to tell them all is, this age, you see things transform so quickly around you. But one thing that is very important is, when you get into the workforce, when you join a company, there is a lot that you can learn from every company that you're working. And I think what this generation needs is a little bit of patience, and they have to give that time to the company that they are working. Unfortunately, what we are seeing a lot around is, people tend to kind of move across jobs. They kind of, they've already made up their mind that this is something I want to do and I won't try doing something else. But I think they need to have patience. They need to actually get on the ground, get their hands dirty, do the stuff that they need to do and learn. And all that needs time. So do not expect that, you are going to get everything at work on day one. You will have to give time to the people that you're working with. You'll have to give time to the company. And I think that will help you go a long way. And probably that is something that this generation is kind of missing out on. And so I would really request these freshers to, when they join in a new company, let them not start judging the company from day one and saying, oh, maybe this is not something that I will be able to do here. You never know. You're actually going to be working with people who are more experienced than you. So I think you have to give them that. You have to value that, and you have to try and learn as much as you can from what you have around you. And then, yeah, obviously, 2-3 years down the line, you would be in a better position to assess yourself and see what you want to do. Don't try to make a shift too soon. Stay on, be patient, learn, and then, you'll automatically know what to do. Be happy to try out new things. You never know where it'll help you in your future. So any work is not bad work. So try to learn something out of anything and everything that you do.
Nice, Nitya. I think these are constant messages that I think we can actually give now, patience and time, and accept anything that comes your way. I agree with you on so many of the points that you said. So thanks a lot. It's been very, very nice talking to you. This has been a lovely conversation. And thank you so much for giving us the time and being a guest on our show. We'd love to get back in touch with you for perhaps more conversations on different topics. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. But thanks again.
Thanks, Chitra. It's been great being here, sharing this time with you. And, I do hear your podcast. It's very refreshing. So thank you so much for having me here.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Malavika for promoting the Software People stories.
If you like this episode,
Please subscribe on your favorite podcast client.
And spread the word in your network.
if you'd like to share your story,
Contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.